Unipark stepped off the transport ship and into a world of giants, Korvath. Station stretched before her like a city made of light and metal. Thousands of aliens moved through the wide corridors. Some had 4 arms. Some had scales. Some floated instead of walking. All of them were bigger than Hadad. She was 19 years old, 5 feet and 4 inches tall, and very far from home. Earth was 3 months of travel behind her. The planet that the galaxy now called a Class 12 Deathworld. Yuna had not understood what that meant until she arrived here. On Earth, gravity pulled hard. The air had oxygen that could burn. The water had salt that could poison. The animals had teeth and claws and venom. The weather could freeze you or burn you or drown you. To Yuna, that was just home. To everyone else in the galaxy, it was a nightmare. She walked through the station toward the Galactic Academy. Her acceptance letter was in her bag. She was one of 12 humans allowed to study here this year. It was supposed to be an honor. Earth had only made contact with the galactic community 5 years ago. Humans were still new, still strange, still watched. Yuna kept her eyes forward and her mouth closed. The academy was beautiful. The main building rose up like a crystal tower. Inside, the halls were clean and bright. Aliens of every shape and color filled the classrooms. They came from 100 different worlds to learn together. Yuna found her room. It was small but comfortable. She unpacked her things slowly. She had brought very little. Some clothes, some books, a photo of her family, a small knife her father had given her before she left. For emergencies, he had said. She hoped she would never need it. Her brother Taiho came to see her that evening. He was 24 years old and worked as an engineer on the station. He had been here for 2 years already. He knew how things worked. "Keep your head down," he told her. "Humans are still proving ourselves. If you cause problems, it reflects on all of us." Yuna nodded. She understood. "I will be quiet," she said. And she was. The first week passed slowly. Yuna went to her classes. She sat in the back of every room. She took notes carefully. She did not raise her hand. She did not speak unless a teacher asked her directly. The other students watched her. She could feel their eyes on her back. They whispered about her when they thought she could not hear. But human ears were sharper than most species knew. "That is the Deathworld girl," they said. "Look how small she is. I heard humans eat animal flesh, raw and bloody. They live on a planet that would kill us in minutes. How is she even alive?" Yuna ignored them. She ate her meals alone. She studied alone. She walked alone. She was used to being alone. Then Vel noticed her. Vel was a Draxi. His species was tall and proud, with 4 muscular arms and skin like blue stone. He came from a noble family. His father was a senator. His mother owned 3 planets. Vel believed he was better than everyone around him. He saw Yuna sitting alone in the dining hall one day and smiled. "Look," he said to his friends. "The little human." His friends laughed. There was Riss, a serpentine creature with fangs that dripped venom. There were others too, all from wealthy families, all used to getting what they wanted. Vel walked to Yuna's table. He stood over her, all 4 arms crossed. "You are from the Deathworld," he said. It was not a question. Yuna looked up. Her face showed nothing. "Yes. How does it feel to be so far from your swamp?" His friends laughed again. Yuna said nothing. She returned to her food. Vel did not like being ignored. He reached down and knocked her tablet off the table. It clattered on the floor. "Oops," he said. "Clumsy me." Yuna bent down and picked up her tablet. She checked it for damage. Then she continued eating. Vel waited for her to react, to yell, to cry, to do something. She did nothing. He walked away, confused and annoyed. But he did not forget Dot over the next few weeks. Vel made Yuna his project. He bumped into her in the hallways, hard enough to knock her against walls. He spread rumors about humans being dirty and diseased. He convinced other students to avoid her. Every time, Yuna did nothing. She picked herself up. She cleaned herself off. She walked away. Her brother saw the bruises one evening. "What happened?" Taiho asked, his voice tight with anger. "Nothing," Yuna said. "I fell." "Yuna, it is nothing, brother. I can handle it." Taiho looked at her for a long moment. He knew his sister. He knew what she could do. Back on Earth, she had trained in martial arts since she was 6 years old. She had survived the military wilderness program that all Korean citizens completed. She had once fought off a wild dog with her bare hands when she was 14, but she was also smart. She understood politics. She knew that one wrong move could hurt all humans in the galaxy. "Be careful," Taiho said finally. "I am always careful," Yuna replied. That night she lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. Her body ached from Vel's latest shove. Her pride ached even more. But she thought about her parents, back on Earth. She thought about the other humans who would come after her. She thought about everything that depended on her being good, and quiet and small. She closed her eyes. She could be patient, for now. The new human arrived on a Tuesday. Yuna saw her step off the transport ship, small and scared, clutching a bag to her chest like a shield. The girl was young, maybe 16. Her eyes were wide and wet, and she looked like she wanted to run back onto the ship and go home. Her name was Narration. She was from Bizan, a city by the sea. She had won a scholarship to study xenobiology at the Academy's junior program. She was brilliant with science, but terrible with people. Yuna watched her from across the arrival hall. She did not approach. She did not introduce herself. But something in her chest tightened when she saw how lost Nari looked. She remembered feeling the same way. Over the next few days, Yuna kept her distance, but stayed close. She sat a few tables away during meals. She walked the same corridors at the same times. She was never obvious about it. She was just there, like a shadow. Nari did not notice. She was too busy trying to survive. The academy was hard for her. The classes were difficult. The other students were strange and frightening. She spoke Galactic Common with a heavy accent, and some aliens laughed when she mispronounced words. But she tried. Every day, she tried. Yuna respected that. Then Vel found a new target. It happened in the dining hall. 2 weeks after Nari arrived. The young girl was sitting alone, eating something that looked like rice, but was made from alien grains. She was reading a textbook and did not see Vel approach. He sat down across from her, his forearms spread wide on the table. "Hello, little human," he said. I looked up. Her face went pale. "Hello," she whispered. "I heard you were studying xenobiology," Vel continued. Funny. I did not know animals could study other animals. His friends laughed. They had gathered behind him, watching like predators around wounded prey. Nari's hands shook. "I am not an animal." "Your planet says otherwise," Vel said. "Class 12 Deathworld." "Do you know what that means?" "It means your entire species should not exist. You are mistakes of evolution. Freaks who crawled out of poison and fire." Tears filled Nari's eyes. Yuna watched from her table across the room. Her fingers curled into fists under the table. Her heart beat faster, but she did not move. Vel stood up and looked down at Nari with disgust. "Stay out of my way, little freak. This academy is for civilized species." He walked away. His friends followed, laughing. I sat frozen for a long moment. Then she gathered her things and left, her head down, her shoulders shaking. Yuna followed her. She found Nari in an empty corridor, crying against the wall. The young girl's sobs echoed off the metal surfaces. She looked so small, so broken. Yuna stopped a few feet away. She did not know what to say. She was not good with words. Finally, she spoke. "It gets easier." Nari looked up, startled. She wiped her eyes quickly. "What?" "The loneliness. The fear. It gets easier." Nari stared at her. "You are the other human, Yuna." "Yes. Does it really get easier?" Yuna thought about lying. She thought about saying yes. Everything would be fine. The aliens would accept them eventually. But she respected Nari too much to lie. "No," she said. "But you get stronger." Nari laughed, a sad and broken sound. "I do not feel strong. You will." Yuna turned and walked away. She did not look back, but from that day on, she watched Nari more carefully. The bullying got worse. Val had found someone who reacted, someone who cried, someone who gave him what he wanted. He tormented Nari every chance he got. He ruined her lab experiments. He spread rumors that humans carried diseases. He convinced other students to move away when she sat near them. Nari grew thinner. She stopped eating much. Dark circles appeared under her eyes. She jumped at every sound. Yuna saw all of it. She saw the fear in Nari's eyes. She saw the way the young girl flinched whenever Vel was near. And something inside Yuna began to wake up at night. After her classes were done, Yuna went to the heavy-gravity gym. It was a room designed for species from high-gravity worlds. Most aliens avoided it. The pressure inside was crushing, but for Yuna, it felt like home. She ran laps until her lungs burned. She practiced fighting forms until her muscles screamed. She pushed her body harder and harder, preparing for something she could not name. Her brother noticed the change. "You are training again," Taiho said one evening. "I like to stay fit." "Yuna, what is happening?" She looked at him. For a moment, she wanted to tell him everything. About Vel, about Nari, about the anger building in her chest like a storm. "Nothing," she said. "I am fine." Taiho did not believe her. But he did not push. Then came the day that changed everything. Yuna was walking to her room when she passed Nari in the corridor. The young girl was walking slowly, holding her right arm close to her body. "Nari," Yuna said. "Wait." Nari stopped. She did not turn around. "Let me see your arm." "It is nothing." "Let me see." Slowly, Nari turned. Slowly, she held out her arm. There were bruises on her skin. Dark purple marks in the shape of fingers. Someone had grabbed her hard enough to leave marks that would last for days. Who did this? Yuna asked. Her voice was calm. Too calm. Nari's eyes filled with tears. "Please, do not make trouble. It will only get worse." "Who?" "Vel. He said I was looking at him wrong. He grabbed me and told me to remember my place." Yuna stared at the bruises. She stared at the tears on Nari's face. She stared at the fear in the young girl's eyes. Something inside her went quiet and cold. "Go to your room," Yuna said. "Rest. Eat something. What are you going to do?" Yuna did not answer. She walked past Nari toward her own quarters. That night, she did not sleep. She sat in the dark and thought about everything her brother had told her. About keeping quiet. About being good. About not causing problems. She thought about her parents on Earth. She thought about the future of her species. Then she thought about Nari's bruises. About the tears. About a 16-year-old girl being hurt because no one would protect her. Yuna made a decision. Some things mattered more than being quiet. The dining hall was full when Yuna walked in the next morning. Hundreds of aliens sat at long tables, eating and talking and laughing. The noise filled the air like a living thing. Creatures of every size and shape moved through the room. Yuna ignored them all. Her eyes found Vel immediately. He sat at his usual table near the center of the room. His friends surrounded him like guards around a king. Riss coiled beside him, her serpentine body wrapped around her chair. Other wealthy students sat nearby, laughing at something Vel had said. Yuna walked toward them. The room began to quiet. One by one, aliens stopped talking. They turned to watch the small human girl walking through the dining hall with purpose in her steps. Yuna had been invisible for months. She never spoke. She never approached anyone. She was the quiet human who sat alone and caused no trouble. Now, she was walking straight toward the most powerful student in the academy. By the time she reached Vel's table, the entire room was silent. Vel looked up at her. His forearms were relaxed. His blue stone skin showed no concern. He smiled like someone watching an insect crawl toward a flame. The other human, he said, finally decided to speak. Yuna stopped in front of his table. She stood straight. Her hands hung loose at her sides. "Narration is under my protection now," she said. Her voice was calm and clear. Every alien in the room could hear her. "Leave her alone." For a moment, no one moved. Then Vel laughed. It started as a chuckle and grew into a roar. His friends joined in. The sound echoed off the walls. Riss hissed with amusement. "Protection?" Vel said, still laughing. "You? A tiny Deathworld creature thinks she can protect anyone?" Yuna did not smile. She did not flinch. She simply stood and waited. Vel's laughter faded. He stood up from his table, rising to his full height. He was over 7 feet tall. His forearms were thick with muscle. His shadow fell over Yuna like darkness. "Do you know who I am?" he asked. "My father is a senator. My family owns 3 planets. I could have you removed from this station with one call." "I know who you are," Yuna said. "Then you know you are nothing. You are from a species that was eating dirt while my ancestors built empires. You have no power here. No friends. No family except that engineer brother of yours." Vel leaned down, bringing his face close to hers. "You should be thanking me for not targeting you." Yuna held his gaze. She did not look away. She did not blink. In the animal kingdom of 100 worlds, looking a predator in the eye was a challenge. It was something prey never did. It was a sign that you were not afraid, that you were dangerous. Vel noticed. For a brief moment, something flickered in his eyes. Doubt, unease, a whisper of ancient instinct telling him that something was wrong, but his pride was too strong. He pushed the feeling away. "Well," he said, "what are you going to do, little human? Cry? Run away? That is all your kind is good for." Yuna spoke quietly. Only Vel could hear her words. "I am asking nicely, once." The words hung in the air between them. Vel stared at her. He did not understand. This tiny creature from a death planet was threatening him? In front of everyone? It was absurd. It was insane. He decided to teach her a lesson. His upper right arm shot out. He pushed her chest hard, expecting to send her flying backward. Yuna did not move. The force of his push traveled through her body and into her legs. Her feet stayed planted on the floor. Her center of gravity did not shift. Vel blinked. He pushed again. Harder. Nothing. It was like pushing a statue made of stone. Humans were denser than they looked. Their bones were thick from fighting gravity their whole lives. Their muscles were packed tight from carrying their own weight in a world that tried to crush them. Yuna weighed more than Vel expected. Much more. She looked up at him with eyes that showed nothing. No fear. No anger. Just patience. The patience of a predator waiting for the right moment. Vel stepped back. His friends had gone silent. The whole room was watching. "This is not over," he said. His voice was harder now, colder. You will regret this, human. Both of you will." He turned and walked away. His friends followed quickly. Yuna stood alone in the center of the dining hall. Slowly, the noise returned. Aliens began talking again, whispering about what they had just seen. Yuna walked to her usual table and sat down. She began eating her breakfast as if nothing had happened, but her hands were shaking slightly under the table. That evening, Taiho found her in her room. "I heard what happened," he said. His face was worried. "The whole station is talking about it. News travels fast." "Yuna, what are you doing? I told you to keep your head down. I told you not to cause problems. He was hurting a child." "I know, but there are other ways. You could report him. You could talk to the teachers." Yuna looked at her brother. "The teachers know. They do nothing. His family is too powerful. No one will help her except me." Taiho sat down on her bed. He put his head in his hands. "If you fight him, there will be consequences. For you, for me, for every human who comes after us. And if I do nothing, Nari suffers. She is 16 years old, Taiho. She came here alone, full of dreams. Now she is afraid to walk through the corridors." I know. Taiho looked up at her. "But are you ready for what comes next? Vel will not let this go. He will come for you." Yuna nodded slowly. "I know. And what will you do?" She did not answer, but her eyes moved to the small knife on her desk, the one her father had given her, for emergencies. Taiho followed her gaze. "He understood. You gave him a warning," he said quietly. "Yes. The way father taught us. Yes." Taiho was silent for a long moment. Then he stood up and walked to the door. Before he left, he looked back at his sister. "Whatever happens," he said, "I am proud of you." Then he was gone. Yuna sat alone in her room. Outside her window, stars burned in the endless black of space. Somewhere out there was Earth, her home. Her family dot, she thought about her mother's cooking, her father's stories, the mountains she used to climb, the rivers she used to swim. She thought about everything she was risking. Then she thought about Nari's bruised arm, her tearful eyes, her broken voice. Yuna stood up and walked to the window. She had given Vel his warning. What happened next was his choice, but she was ready. She was born ready. 3 days passed in silence. Vel did not approach Yuna. He did not approach Nari. He attended his classes. He ate his meals. He acted like nothing had happened. But Yuna knew better. She watched him carefully. She saw the way he whispered to his friends when he thought no one was looking. She saw the cold anger in his eyes whenever he glanced her way. She saw him studying the station maps, learning the corridors, finding the blind spots. He was planning something. Yuna prepared. She memorized Nari's schedule. She learned which paths the young girl took between classes. She noted the times and places where Nari was most alone. On the third day, Yuna felt something change in the air. Vel's friends were quieter than usual. They kept looking at each other with small smiles. They were excited about something. That afternoon, Nari did not come to the dining hall. Yuna waited 10 minutes. Then 15. Then 20. Nari never missed meals anymore. She was too afraid to be alone. Something was wrong. Yuna stood up and left the dining hall. She moved quickly through the corridors, her footsteps silent on the metal floor. She followed the path Nari usually took from her last class. Nothing. Empty hallways. Closed doors. She checked the library. Empty. She checked the study rooms. Empty. Her heart beat faster. Her instincts screamed at her dot. Then she remembered the maintenance corridors, the back passages that connected different parts of the station, the places where there were no cameras, no witnesses. She ran. The maintenance corridors were dark and narrow. Pipes lined the walls. The air was cold and smelled like metal. Yuna moved through them like a ghost, following the sounds that grew louder as she got closer. Voices, laughter, and underneath it all, a girl crying. Yuna turned a corner and found them. Vel stood in the center of the corridor, his forearms crossed. His friends surrounded him in a half circle. Riss had coiled her serpentine body around Nari, holding the girl tight. Nari's face was wet with tears. Her body shook with fear. Riss opened her mouth. Her fangs were long and white. Venom dripped from the tips. Maybe a small bite, Vel was saying. Just enough to teach her a lesson. Riss's venom is not deadly to humans, probably. We should find out. Nari screamed. The sound echoed through the corridor. Yuna did not announce herself. She did not give a warning. She had already given her warning. Vel had made his choice. Now she made hers. Yuna moved Dot to the aliens. She was a blur. One moment she was at the end of the corridor. The next moment she was in front of Riss. Humans were pursuit predators. For millions of years, they had chased their prey across the plains of Earth. They could not run as fast as other animals, but they could run longer. And when they finally caught their prey, they struck with explosive violence. Yuna's hand shot out and grabbed Riss's jaw. She twisted hard. There was a crack. Riss's jaw dislocated. The serpent released Nari and fell to the floor, screaming in pain. The whole thing took less than 2 seconds. Vel stared. His brain could not process what he had just seen. Then his instincts took over. His forearms reached for Yuna. She was faster. She caught his upper right arm and pulled. She used his own weight against him, the way her father had taught her. She twisted her body, added her strength to his momentum, and felt the joint give way. Crack, Vel screamed. She grabbed his upper left arm. Twist. Pull. Crack. Another scream. 2 of his forearms hung useless at his sides. The bones were broken or dislocated. He would not use them again for a long time. The other aliens ran. They did not think. They did not try to help Vel. They simply fled, their ancient survival instincts overwhelming their pride. They had seen what Yuna did to Riss. They had seen what she did to Vel. They knew what they were facing. A predator. A real predator. In seconds, only 3 remained in the corridor. Vel, crying on the floor. Nari, frozen against the wall. And Yuna, standing calm and still, not even breathing hard. She looked down at Vel. He stared up at her with pure terror. His blue-stone skin had gone pale. His 4 eyes were wide. He was a noble heir, raised to believe he was untouchable. Now he understood the truth. Yuna knelt down to his level. Her voice was soft, calm, almost gentle. On Earth, she said, humans are not the strongest animals. We are not the fastest. We do not have the sharpest claws or the biggest teeth. Vel whimpered. But we survive. We survive because we are smart. We survive because we do not give up. We survive because when something threatens us or the people we love, we do not run. We fight. She leaned closer. You spent weeks hurting a child. You made her cry. You made her afraid. You made her feel alone. Her eyes were cold, empty, the eyes of something ancient and dangerous. I spent weeks deciding how much to hurt you back. I could have done worse, much worse. But I am not a monster. She stood up. Remember this moment. Remember what happened when you threatened something I protect. And if you ever come near Nari again, if you ever look at her wrong, if you even think about hurting her. She paused. I will not be this gentle. She turned to Nari. The young girl was still frozen, tears streaming down her face. Come, Yuna said softly. It is over. She held out her hand. Nari took it. Together, they walked away from the corridor. Behind them, Vel lay broken on the floor, crying in pain and shame. Riss was still screaming, her jaw hanging loose. Yuna did not look back. They walked through the station in silence. Aliens stared at them. Word was already spreading. The quiet human. The Deathworld girl. She had broken a noble air like he was made of paper. Finally, they reached Nari's room. Yuna walked her inside and sat her down on the bed. "You are safe now," Yuna said. Nari looked up at her. Her eyes were red. Her voice shook. "Why?" She whispered. "Why did you help me? You do not even know me." Yuna thought about the question. She thought about Earth. She thought about her family. She thought about all the times she had been alone and scared. "Because someone should have helped me," she said finally. "And no one did. So now I help others." Nari started crying again. But this time, they were different tears. Relief, gratitude, hope. Yuna sat with her until she fell asleep. Then she walked back to her own room. Alone in the dark corridors of the station, wondering what tomorrow would bring. She had broken her promise to stay quiet, but she had kept a more important promise. She had protected someone who needed it. Whatever came next, she was ready to face it. The next morning, station security came to Yuna's door. She had expected this. She went with them quietly, her hands calm at her sides. They took her to a gray room with a metal table and 2 chairs. They asked her to wait. She waited. An hour passed. Then 2. Then 3. Finally, the door opened. A tall alien walked in. He had silver skin and large black eyes. He wore the uniform of station administration. His name tag read, Director Mover. He sat down across from Yuna and studied her for a long moment. "You know why you are here," he said. "Yes. Vel's family is very angry. They are demanding your immediate removal from the station. They want you sent back to Earth in chains." Yuna said nothing. His father is a senator. His mother owns 3 planets. They have powerful friends. They could make a lot of trouble for your species. Still, Yuna said nothing. Director Mover leaned back in his chair. "However, there is a problem with their demands." Yuna looked up. Witnesses have come forward. Other students. Staff members. They have been talking all morning. They told us about Vel's behavior over the past months. The bullying. The harassment. The threats. He paused. The bruises on a 16-year-old girl's arm. Yuna's heart beat faster. It seems Vel was not as careful as he thought. People saw things. They were afraid to speak before. But after what you did, they are not afraid anymore. Director Mover pulled out a tablet and placed it on the table. 17 complaints, he said. 17 different students have filed reports against Vel and his friends in the past 12 hours. Some of them go back years. Harassment, assault, abuse of power. Yuna stared at the tablet. Additionally, the medical examination of Miss Nari Song showed extensive bruising consistent with repeated physical abuse. We also found traces of Riss's venom on her skin. If you had arrived even minutes later, he did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. Vel's family has been informed of these findings. They have decided to withdraw their complaint, quietly. They do not want the full story becoming public. Yuna let out a breath she did not know she was holding. "You are free to go," Director Mover said. "But Miss Park, I have to ask. You could have reported this. You could have come to us. Would you have listened?" Director Mover was silent for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Probably not," he admitted. "His family is too powerful. I am sorry. We failed you. We failed Miss Song. We failed many students." He stood up and opened the door for her. "For what it is worth, you have my respect. I have been running this station for 30 years. I have never seen anyone move the way you did. Our security footage, Well, it is quite something. Yuna walked to the door. Before she left, she turned back. What will happen to Vel? He is being sent home for medical treatment. His enrollment at the academy has been terminated. His friends as well. Director Mover paused. I suspect his family will keep him very far from this station. And from humans. Yuna nodded and walked out. The news spread through the station like fire. Everyone had heard some version of the story. The quiet human girl. The noble bully. The fight in the maintenance corridor. Some versions were close to the truth. Some were wild exaggerations. In one version, Yuna had killed 6 aliens with her bare hands. She ignored all of it, but she noticed the changes. Aliens who had ignored her before now stepped aside when she walked past. They watched her with new eyes, not with contempt or curiosity, but with something else: respect and a little fear. Humans were already viewed with unease. Creatures from a death world. Survivors of a planet that should have killed them. But they had seemed so harmless, so quiet, so eager to fit in. Now the galaxy was asking new questions. If the quiet ones could do this, what about the rest? What about the humans who were not so patient? The humans who did not hold back? What had they let into their stations and academies and cities? Yuna did not care about any of that. She only cared about one thing. Nari was waiting for her outside the administration building. The young girl ran to Yuna and hugged her tight. She was crying again, but this time she was smiling. "Thank you," Nari whispered. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Yuna hugged her back. It felt strange. She had been alone for so long. "You do not have to thank me," she said. "Yes, I do. You saved me. You protected me when no one else would." They stood there for a long moment, 2 humans in a galaxy of strangers, holding on to each other. Finally, they separated. Nari wiped her eyes. "What now?" She asked why you and thought about it. "Now we eat lunch. I am hungry." Nari laughed. It was the first time Yuna had heard her laugh. They walked to the dining hall together. When they entered, the room went quiet for a moment. Then the noise returned, louder than before. Students looked at them and whispered, but no one approached. No one dared. Yuna and Nari sat at a table in the center of the room. Other students slowly joined them. The ones who had been bullied. The ones who had been afraid. They sat near the human girl who had stood up to the powerful. For the first time, Yuna was not alone at lunch. That evening, Taiho found her on the observation deck. She was watching the stars, the way she always did when she needed to think. He sat down beside her. "So," he said, "you broke your promise." "Yes." "You caused problems." "Yes." "The whole station is talking about you." "The whole sector, probably." "Yes." Taiho was quiet for a moment. Then he put his arm around her shoulder. "You protected someone who needed it. That is not a problem. That is what we do. That is what humans have always done." Yuna leaned against her brother. For the first time in months, she felt something loosen in her chest. "I was scared," she admitted. "Of course you were. Only fools are not scared. I could have made things worse. For all of us. But you did not. You made things better. Not just for Nari, for everyone who was afraid to speak up." They sat together, watching the stars. "Yuna," Taiho said quietly. "Yes? I am proud of you. Our parents would be proud of you too." Yuna smiled. It was small and tired, but it was real. "Thank you, brother." They stayed on the observation deck until the station's artificial night fell. Then they walked back to their quarters together. 2 humans in a galaxy that was only now beginning to understand what that meant. Far away. In a ship traveling to the Galactic Council headquarters, a representative was reading a report. It contained everything that had happened on Korvath Station. The bullying, The confrontation. The fight. The aftermath. He read the security footage analysis 3 times. Then he opened a new file and began typing. Subject. Human Park. Unit classification. Class 12 Deathworld Native Recommendation. Revised threat assessment for all humans. Current classification inadequate. He paused, then added one more line. Secondary recommendation. Recruitment for special operations. Monitor for future contact. He closed the file and leaned back in his chair. The galaxy had underestimated humanity. It had seen their small bodies and soft skin and assumed they were weak. It would not make that mistake again. Back on Corvath Station, Una slept peacefully for the first time in months. Beside her, on the small desk by her bed, sat a photograph of her family and a small knife. She did not know what the future would bring. She did not know that somewhere, powerful beings were watching her with great interest. All she knew was that tomorrow, she would wake up. She would go to her classes. She would eat lunch with Nari and the other students who no longer sat alone. And if anyone tried to hurt them, she would be ready. Because that was what humans did. They protected their own. Always.